This topic's called Variable Expressions as Inputs of Functions. That just really means that if you have a function, you should already know this part going into this. If we have the function f of x equals 3x minus 5, and they ask you to evaluate f of negative 1, what you want to do is you want to recopy this over. Wherever you see an x, you stuff in negative 1. After you do that, you just want to apply the order of operations. So 3 times x would turn into 3 times negative 1 minus 5. 3 times negative 1 is 3. Negative 3, and negative 3 minus 5 gives you negative 8. So I'm assuming that you already know how to do that. That's just putting numbers in as an input of a function. What this topic's going to do is it's going to have us take something like this, h of x equals 2x squared minus 3, and they're going to ask us to evaluate h of 3n. So instead of putting in a number wherever we see an x, we're going to put 3n. So again, same deal. We're going to take this wherever we see an x. We're not going to put in the x. We're going to put 3n in. So this is what it'll look like. 2. There's an x, so I'm going to put in 3n. I'm going to close my parentheses and then square that in a minute. Finish writing it as minus 3. So when I have something like this, I need to apply the exponent first. 2 times 3 squared is 9. N squared is n squared. Minus 3. I don't need like terms to multiply, so I can do this next. 2 times 9 is 18. And, whoops, sorry. Let's see if I can erase that little guy. There we go. Alright, so that's going to be 18n squared minus 3. There's nothing else you can do with this expression, so you just circle it, and that's all you're doing. So you're just plugging in something with letters instead of just a plain number. Let's try another one. I like this one because it's got, it looks like a negative sign in front of it. So let's say that we have g of x, and we're told that g of x equals x squared minus 5. I hope you're writing this down in your notebook so you have a good example to follow through with. Whoops. G of negative a, and I don't really like to say negative a. I want to think of it as I'm going to input the opposite of a, which may or may not matter. I think the main important thing is that wherever I see an x, I'm going to put in negative a in parentheses. So here we go. There's an x right away. I'm going to put in negative a minus 5. And then just apply this. When you have negative a times negative a, which is the same as squaring negative a, you're going to end up with a positive a squared. Negative times negative gives you a positive. So you're going to end up with something that looks a lot like the original function. But there you go. That's all there is to it. Let's do another one. This time, let's say that the function is h of x equals 2x minus 4, and they want us to evaluate a plus 2. So same deal. Wherever I see an x in this expression, I'm not going to write x, but I'm going to write a plus 2 in parentheses. So 2 comes from there. Put in a plus 2, because that's where my x would be, minus 4. Okay, look at it. What do? You want to distribute or multiply through. 2 times a is 2a. 2 times 2 is 4. And then we look for any like terms to combine. Nothing can combine with the 2a, so we just rewrite it. And here we have positive 4 minus 4, which goes to 0. So we can just leave it as 2a. Let's try one more. Skip that up there. Let's say that we have h of x equals x squared plus 4, and they want us to evaluate h of 2n. Same deal. Wherever we see an x, we're going to put in 2n. Right away we see an x, we put in 2n. And then the most tricky part about this isn't even really that tricky, but you got to remember to square that sucker. 2 squared is 4, n squared is n squared. And again, we end really quickly. There's nothing else we can do. We can't combine those two because they're not like terms, so you just stop. So something that sounds a little bit intimidating, variable expressions as inputs of functions, really isn't that bad. We're inputting a new variable, taking out the old one, and then we're just simplifying it, following the normal algebraic rules that we already know pretty well by now. So that's all you want to do for that topic. If you have any questions, come find me. Thanks for listening.